You're listening to Ask When, the podcast. Folks from all walks of life talk about their daily hustle and bustle, living and celebrating life, sharing tips on becoming champions, especially for those who are muscling mental and physical disabilities. Ask When, the podcast, with your host who has mustered over 30 years living with cerebral palsy and going strong. Author and cerebral palsy advocate Wynn Charles. Ask When, the podcast starts right now.
Welcome to Ask When, everyone. Today with me I have Anne, and I'm going to let Anne take it away and share her story, and then we'll just naturally roll into this. So welcome.
Well, great. I am so excited to be here, and thank you for letting me join your show.
Well,
My,
you are so welcome.
so my name is Anne Zaprazny. I'm often referred to as Anne Z. And I am the CEO and founder of a company called Great Sports Minds. And I formed that after a very long career in insurance. I took a major detour and decided, although my career was really very enjoyable and rich, I wanted to kind of reclaim my life a little bit, and I wanted to fully leverage my strengths of coaching and developing others. And part of my niche is working with athletes to help transform their mindset so that they can compete and perform more relaxed and with greater confidence. And what I teach with athletes, holds true with individuals and entrepreneurs and podcasters and authors in terms of how do we strengthen our mindset to truly believe that we're capable of executing and doing things on a greater level every single day.
Okay, so how, for those of my listeners who are listening to this, and they're thinking, oh, great, here goes Win again with the mindset and the attitude, and we all need an attitude that just, yes, I'm trying to coach you guys to the other side. Yes, you guys need to have a positive attitude, but I was lucky enough to gain my positive attitude basically back in '87 because of my legal name and all that good stuff. But for those and who don't have the positive, sunshiny attitude right now, as we're recording this, we're sitting. It's April 17th, and listening in the world epidemic. And so, for those who don't have the world's shiniest attitude right now, how would you say that people get their attitude back?
Yeah, so it's a great, great question, right? Coincidentally, right now I'm running an A to Z guide to a great sports mind. And every day I post attributes around how do you have a great sports mind. So today was letter R, resilient and relentless. Right. And so, your question is a great question. And I think, one, you have to assess where you are. Right. So we are in a state of a pandemic, and the spectrum of impact for people, I think, on one hand, and I'm in this space, we're inconvenienced. We have to stay home and we can't go out and play. Right. Like, I'm inconvenienced. On the other hand, on the kind of the far right-hand side, there are people who have lost loved ones, have lost their job, are scared financially, are scared physically, right? So somewhere along that spectrum, you have to identify where you are. And if you're in that inconvenienced bucket, you're not personally really threatened, but you're inconvenienced, I think part of the journey is to recognize what is your mood, what is your mindset, right? So if your mood when you wake up is one full of fear and anxiety, what steps can you take, be it meditation, using your breath, journaling? What steps can you take that can help you deal with those pieces? And I'm a big fan of identifying what is it you want in life. Who do you want to be, and what do you want in life? What's getting in the way, right? So right now, what could easily be getting in the way? People aren't getting the exercise they're used to. They're not eating well. Their coping habits might not be healthy. I'm drinking a little bit more because they got nothing to do. What's getting in your way of being your best? How is that impacting you, right? So for me, I believe if I don't take care of my body, if I don't get some type of exercise, then mentally I'm not going to be my best, right? So what's getting in your way? How is that impacting you? But more importantly, what are the things that I can control, that I can do that help me feel better, right? And so I kind of say it's meditation. For me, it's meditation, it's music, it's movement, and it's paying attention to meals, what I'm putting in my body. I call that the 4 M's.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think recognize where you are. Some people are miserable and they're okay being miserable. But if you're miserable and you're not happy being miserable, you got to start thinking. You got to start thinking about what can I control and what in my life is a blessing. Are there things that I can be grateful for, that I can acknowledge? I'm inconvenienced, but I'm healthy. I'm inconvenienced, but I'm in my home. I'm inconvenienced, but I can listen to music. I can do a Zoom call.
Yes.
What are the things I can control that I like to do that fuel the positive side of who I am?
So for me, I would say, you guys, I am inconvenienced, but I can have contact with the outside world. So for me, having contact with the outside world, including my aides and including my stepmom, is something that I enjoy. I enjoy hanging out with people. And so for me, as long as I'm not in a hospital, and unfortunately for me, the CDC put me on the list of high risk patients for what's going on, and so I am very, very conscious of the moves I make because I want to stay healthy. I mean, my health is a blessing right now. And so I'm very conscious of the moves I make. So for those of you guys who are thinking, oh boy, here goes Win with the winning attitude, no pun intended. I am trying to teach you guys, Ann and I are trying to teach you guys that you have to count your blessings at this point. Some of you have jobs, some of you don't, like myself. I got laid off, but I am in the process of getting another job, and I am in the process of getting a journalism degree too. I have a new part-time job, so for me, that's a blessing. But that I was able to find another full-time job and find a part-time job in between, and so I am incredibly blessed. So you guys got to look at the bright side of this pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in fairness, we have to recognize, some folks have really, they have tough reactions to what's going on. They have anxiety, and anxiety can freeze them, right? And so it's just important to recognize, how are you feeling and what can I do to physically improve that? right? And then I have to physically improve that so that mentally I am more resilient to take action, right? So it sounds like you lost your job and just went into an action mode
Yep.
versus a shutdown mode, right? Which is really very powerful.
I give me 24 hours to process bad news, good news, and then after that 24 hours, I turn around and go into action mode. And people that know me personally know that. And so give me 24 hours to cry and throw a hissy fit, and then I go into action mode, and that's just the way I am. And unfortunately, I knew I had made this decision that, unfortunately, I knew what was going on before anyone told me, because I was listening to what schools were doing across country. And so I made the decision in my heart to play the cards I was dealt, and I already had an action plan in the middle of the Chicago airport. Thank you very much, because that's just me. And so I just did my action plan. I emailed work, they emailed me back, and then I went into action planning. But for those of you who are in shutdown mode, um, yeah, that may not work, but we gotta put one foot in front of the other.
What do they say? The key to starting is just starting, right? Is just
Just
taking one
starting,
step at a time, one step at a
one
time.
step at a time. So, Anne, what is your favorite book and what is the title?
Yeah, it's right. I thought about that a little bit. And really, the book that made a big impact on me is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I read it a really long time ago. I couldn't tell you what all seven habits were, but the one that stood out for me was see the end. And in the book, he describes it as see the end in terms of your funeral. What are people saying? And I use that concept, see the end, in almost everything I do. Right. So if I were to be being interviewed on a podcast, I'm going to think about, well, see the end. What do I want the listeners to be able to walk away with? And so I found that book by Stephen Covey pretty impactful for my life on many levels.
And if your BFF got chosen to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Yeah, the title would actually be a question, and the title would be, "Does she sit still? Can she sit still?" Yeah,
Yeah, so does she sit? So I think if my BFF could write a book about me, I think that would be a similar title, man, because I don't sit still despite my cerebral palsy.
Yeah, yeah, right. So some people are wired. So my husband is retired. He's just like 4 years older than me. And I'm always in the office just jamming away. And I literally go, well, why can't I do what he's doing? I'm like, because I don't want to.
No, nope, nope. And so, what is your morning routine?
Yeah, you know what? The only constant in my morning routine is I get up and I work out. That is like the first thing that I do. And then the day may vary from that in terms of today was a day of a Zoom call, a client call, the podcast. Another day might be a day that's really focused on creating my online course, trying to get that to the finish line. So how the day rolls varies by the activity of the day. But the constant is, the morning routine of always getting up and working out is number one.
Yep. And so, if you had to move house and only take 5 things, with you. And yes, you can take your husband. What would they be?
All right. So is your family, do you count that as one or do you have to count each individual?
You count as family as one.
All right. All right. So I take my family. I'd take my cats. I'd take my phone and a charger and probably photographs that predate the cell phone capture.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because when I asked that question, people are like, when can I take my family? And I'm like, of course you can. Of course you can. So, Anne, as we wrap this interview up, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I do. So, as a woman who's a go, go, go and with many passions, what are your time management secrets?
Oh, schedule. I email it to three people who two of them live with me. The other one is my aide. So I email my schedule to my stepmom, my stepsister, and my aide. And that can be I do my schedule every single Sunday. I put everything on my schedule. And yeah, that's schedule for me is important. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing half the things I am doing. So yeah, as a woman that's going despite her disability, scheduling.
All right. And you have many passions, right? You're an author, podcaster, snowboarder. What's your number one passion?
My number one passion is that I guess writing, because when I looked at the question, I guess it would be snowboarding number two, writing number one. And when I looked at that question, I'm like, okay, she's making me pick my favorite passion. So I guess it would be writing, and then outdoor activities would be my second favorite thing to do.
And did you get out much this year before the junket?
I did not, because it's not funny. It's actually ironic. I I lost my dad in 2019. So
super hard.
I appreciate the condolence wish, but the funny thing was I felt a shift in my own body, and I knew something big was going to happen. So I decided to, unbeknownst to my mom and my stepmom, and unbeknownst to my aide, they thought I didn't want to go skiing because I was grieving the loss of my dad. Well, not true, because skiing was one of his favorite passions. I didn't want to go skiing because I felt a shift in my own body, aka I knew there was going to be a shift in the universe, and I didn't know what, but I knew there was going to be a shift in the universe by the time February 14th hit, which was Valentine's Day. I had booked a trip. I had booked a trip to Orlando, Florida, and I knew exactly what date I was flying out, what date I was flying back in, and I knew by the time I left Orlando, it would have been March 8th, that I was going to be sheltered in place that afternoon, the next day. And so, yeah.
So did you get to Florida?
I did. We made it. We made it.
Nice.
We made it, and we had the grand old time. I was down there. I was down there and did what I needed to do down there, a business trip, but I knew exactly what was going on when I was down there. This journalist is nuts. And I knew exactly what I was going. I knew exactly what moves I was going to make when I was down there. And as I said, when I flew home to Chicago, I knew uh, I didn't know exactly when I was going to quit my job, but I knew it was. I knew I was going to get laid off because my school didn't have a plan. My school where I taught didn't have a plan. My school where I'm actually obtaining my journalism degree is already online. Ashford University, you guys, is online school, and that's how they do it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, sounds like you managed to get in a beautiful trip to sunny Florida before you became a captive in your home where it's still snowing in the middle of April.
My own home. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll make it to the end. So, Anne, where can people find you, and where can people get a hold of you if they choose to do so?
Yeah, so folks can get a hold of me at my email, which is annz@athletementaltraining.com. They can find me on social media under Great Sports Minds on Facebook and Instagram. And my website is greatsportsmindsllc.com.
Great Sports Minds, you guys. And for those of you that don't know this, because I didn't know this until last night, that Shaquille O'Neal is actually he actually holds a doctorate in education. So essentially, Shaquille O'Neal is a doctor of education. I did not know that. I thought he was just a terrific basketball player. So for those of you that want the sports attitude, look at him and use his wisdom to get out of this funk too.
Yes, definitely. And there are so many resources online. I recently did an interview with George Mumford, who is kind of world renowned in the space of mindfulness. And in my interview with him, he offers just so much wisdom, and folks can find that on my website. So, it's today the game is patience. The game is patience.
The game is patience. We're playing with the basketball of patience here, people.
Yep.
We're playing with basketball of patience. And as you keep your patience, stay happy, stay sane, and especially stay healthy and do social distancing. And then we can, after social distancing, we can all get back to normal lives. But stay happy, stay sane, you guys, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks to you guys.
Thanks so much. Stay well. Take care.
You just listened to Ask Win, the podcast. To become a guest in the show, visit our website at askwin.weebly.com or call 816-591-3399. Just look for Danielle. Connect with Win on Twitter at WinKellyCharles and like our Facebook page at Butterflies of Wisdom. You can also purchase Win's book through Amazon.com or get a copy of the audiobook through Audible. Ask Win, the podcast.